right there. Ooh, my bees are flying today. Hi, girls. Today the high is 60 degrees. Tomorrow the high is 65. We just had about a week of pretty low. We just had probably about a week of really low temperatures, really low for this area, but we're back to our muddy selves. Levi picked up a little bit of soil for me the other day, and we need to take it to the greenhouse. Over the years, I've had a few people ask me why we don't keep our rabbits in tractors, why we don't keep our quail out on the ground, and also why we don't keep chickens in a tractor. This is why. This is us for 200 days out of the year, just about. We made it. So I've actually kept the greenhouse closed up for probably over a week at this point, and we don't have any kind of air circulating fans here in the greenhouse. I do have that fan right there. That doesn't come on unless the temperature inside the greenhouse gets above a certain point, and it's designed to just vent the hot air out. I don't have anything really designed for circulation. Even though it's not particularly hot in here, I'd like to open the sides of the greenhouse just to allow the plants in here to breathe a little bit. So as you can see, all the plants that are in the greenhouse did survive that really cold week that we had. They did get a little damaged, which I did expect to see some kind of damage. But it looks like they're alive and they'll be okay, I guess, as long as slugs don't get them, which looks like it could be a problem. Go figure. I have this stuff, and it's worked for us in the past. Our peas didn't fare so well. They were already looking kind of sick, not really producing a whole lot, and I'd say they're definitely goners at this point. So when I said all the plants are alive, they're not. It looks like even our alyssum took a hit. This might not be completely dead. It might come back, but it definitely took a hit. Our cauliflower, the leaves on it look a little bit light. This could be from saturated roots from all the rain that we've been getting lately. Yeah, there's a fat slug down there too. Oh, gracious. Down in here, can you see that tiny little cauliflower head coming? I would really like to be able to harvest that before the slugs get to it. So hopefully the sluggo does its job, because we're so close to harvest on those. I mean, all things considered. Same thing with the broccoli, see that? We're starting to get heads over here, and I noticed that they are starting to put out side shoots as well. So this is very, very exciting. In our 2-week extended forecast, it doesn't look like we're really gonna freeze much at all. I think there's one night that's like 31, which is kind of crazy for this time of year. Sort of makes me worry a little bit about what the end of February, early March is gonna look like. We have had false springs before, so if that happens again, it won't be too strange. This row here is our Brussels sprout row. If you've been following the garden tours, you'll notice that I have done a little bit of trimming. So I've freed up some of the bottom leaves on these plants, and they're not really getting much taller. I put some sluggo in here, and I haven't noticed a lot of extra growth, but it has been quite cloudy and again quite cold, which may have just stalled them for a tiny bit. I thought about harvesting Brussels sprouts today, but I think I'm gonna wait just a little bit. I'd like to harvest them at their, full stalk height, so I can get like one, hopefully relatively large-ish stalk of Brussels sprout. You can like cut and come again, or like do successions harvest on the Brussels sprouts. And that's what I thought about doing. I thought about harvesting some of the ones that are lower down, and then letting some of these that are up here you know, get bigger over time. But I think I'll leave them at least another couple weeks to see what happens with the vertical growth on these. So this is the soil that I asked my husband to pick up for me this week. I have this Vigo garden bed over here that we harvested some carrots and some rutabaga out of a couple weeks ago. This is where I threw the Brussels sprout greens to help feed this bed, and I'm just going to be adding that soil into here. Initially when we filled this bed, we did a hugelkultur type filling. So we did logs, I did mulch, I did hay, and then I did a little bit of compost from the barn on top. There's nothing super inherently nutritious about this particular soil. It is just topsoil. It is made from pine, hardwood, and forest products. So it's like a mulch, but a little bit more broken down probably. See, it's a little bit barky. What this needs is more organic matter. And we have a lot of that here in the form of manure. So I didn't need some kind of ready to go soil because I have so much manure that I can use. So we're going to combine this soil with some of our rabbit manure. I'm not sure if you're able to really see this on camera, but probably. You can see how barky and woody this soil is. This has been the quality of store-bought soil for a few years now. It's been kind of disappointing. I am absolutely going to be using this soil. I mean, we bought it. But what I'm not going to do is expect a lot of amazing things out of this bed for some time. So we're going to be layering this down. And then I have, you saw the leaves underneath. That is absolutely going to add nutrition. And then the rabbit manure that we're going to put on top of this, that's going to add some nutrition to the bed as well. But as long as there are decent sized barky or woody bits in the soil, those pieces of wood are going to be using the nitrogen in the manure and the nitrogen in the leafy greens in order to break down. Eventually, once they are broken down, then that nitrogen is going to be released to the plants, but not until then. I may add a little bit of granulated fertilizer to this bed just to help kind of support things, but I'm not going to be expecting a whole lot. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Is that how it goes? That's what we'll do. Some of these are still frozen on the inside. Ugh. There's a little bit of pine in here, and pine is a little acidic. It should balance out just fine, but I was just thinking about how much mushroom mycelium loves a nice woody substrate like this. So even though it's going to take some time to build up the soil in this bed to be ideal, it's going to be really awesome when we're done. The rabbit manure already has this white, like dusty fungus on it. There's a name for it, I forget it, but I know that it's really good for the garden. What fungus does is it makes the nutrients in the bed more bioavailable to the plants. It breaks it down and assimilates it in a way that when it's presented to the plants, they can uptake the most out of it. There's a little bit of rabbit food in there too. That won't hurt. So the next thing that I think I want to plant this bed with is parsnips. Parsnips can take a very long time to germinate. The back of the seed packet says 21 to 28 days. So it could be up to a month before we see sprouts come up above the soil. And it might even be a little bit longer because, you know, who knows what the temperatures are going to be like. The back of the seed packet says to plant in the earliest spring as soon as the soil can be worked. And inside a greenhouse setting, it's pretty much the earliest spring at all times in our area. 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep, about 6 inches apart. Okay. Parsnip seed is quite a bit bigger than carrot seed, so these are a lot easier to see and a lot easier to deal with. Feels good to have that done. These birdhouse gourds have been out here on this trellis for a really long time. Some of them have not fared so well, but others actually don't look too bad. Like, they look kind of bad, but they don't feel bad. They feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do. This outside yucky part will wash off fine, and this feels really dry on the inside. That's nice. This section here, it's 100 feet long, and we call it the lane. And in the coming months, to get ready for the spring and summer garden, I do need to ideally peel back this weed fabric that's here, kind of free it from the grass that's grown over it, and do some amending in this space as well. I'm in the middle of trying to get together my plan for what I want to grow in the spring and summer garden. I'm still kind of undecided, but I do know that I want this to be a pepper year, like a big pepper year. I will start my frost tender spring and summer garden seeds usually in the mid to end of February, so that they're ready to plant out at the end of April, because our estimated last frost date, I think they moved it, but it's somewhere around like April 20th. These guys look pretty good too. It's just taking them a while to dry out, but it would probably help if I didn't have them, you know, out in the elements, but here we are. Look at this. There's a loofah here that stayed on the trellis. I don't think any of these seeds are viable. Supposedly viable loofah seeds are black, and these look to be all white. Throw that down in the bed. That will feed the bed just fine as is. I've noticed that there's a little bit of foliage coming in on our thornless blackberries. This has turned into a wild and crazy section of the garden. I'm not necessarily mad about it. I didn't realize that they were going to be so vigorous and so eager to grow. But it's fine by me. I just need to clear this space out. I'd like to keep this walkway here in this U-shaped bed so that I can move around in here. But the blackberries have spilled out over here, which is completely fine. Basically all of what you see here where the blackberries are at is first year cane. It's parts of the plant that grew last year, and so these canes should be fruiting this year because blackberries fruit on their second year, on the second year canes. So I'm very, very excited. We got quite a lot of blackberries last year, and we're set to get like a lot more this year. They're even kind of starting to take over the driveway. It's fine by me. I had scattered some wine cap mushroom mycelium in this bed shortly before we got that week of freeze, and I had some people asking me if I thought the mycelium was going to be okay. As far as I know, they should be completely fine. The mycelium, what they're going to be doing is infiltrating the mulch that I put down on this bed, which this mulch also is likely very insulating for that mycelium. And we should be seeing those mushrooms at about the end of spring, but we'll see our asparagus first. Sometimes I will see asparagus at the end of February, but usually it's March. If we continue to have warm weather though, it's probably going to be February. We do have elephant garlic that got a little bit damaged in the freeze, but it'll be all right. This I planted a couple years ago, and it's just coming back from the little corms. See, there's something there as well. A corm. It's like a little tiny garlic clove on the very underside of the garlic, mostly elephant garlic. There might be other varieties of garlic that produce corms as well. But those little corms fall off really easily, so inevitably they stay in the bed when harvesting. So we've got some there. Looks like we've got puffballs in the strawberry bed. Mushrooms living amongst your plants in the garden. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good sign. Good sign of soil health. Our strawberries actually looked like they handled the freeze quite well. There's a little bit of damage here. We were fortunate to get at least a light covering of snow, and snow is very insulating. And so the strawberries handled this very well. They actually went through some of these strawberries that really deep freeze that we got last year. So these guys are good and hardy. We have strawberries over here on the edge of the garden, and I've thought about moving these. This is actually not actually connected to the ground, but it was connected to the mother plant. The mother plant is actually through this fence on the other side, and this is what's called a runner. So the mother plant will shoot out these little baby plants, and those baby plants will put out their own roots, and once they root down into the ground, this stem that connected the two dies off, and you've got a whole new strawberry plant. So what my plan is just to take some of those runners and give them a little bit of a head start over here. They're not necessarily unwanted where they are, they're just going to get buried in the summer garden. If I can put them over here, they're going to be better off. I do need to be careful that I don't plant the crown deeply into the soil. This part here is the crown of the strawberry plant. Oh, this one is pretty well rooted. But can you see this like dark bit here? Right here is the crown, and then we have the roots. I don't want to be planting all of this underground like that because the crown will rot and the whole plant will die. So see this one root sticking out right there? That's about as deep as I want to plant it, about like that. There's a strawberry coming up right there. So we'll go here with that one. We are going to get some more rain in the next few days, and as I mentioned, it's going to stay warm, so it's a good time to move the strawberries. There we go. So there are a few asparagus crowns in this bed. I think they're all like lined up right here. But the rest of it is strawberries. The strawberries and asparagus will be able to coexist actually quite well. I am gonna let these strawberries get established and root really well and probably put up some more greens before I go ahead and amend the beds a little bit and definitely add some more mulch. That's something that I slacked on last year. Thankfully, these strawberries have been very forgiving and they have given us extra plants this year. This is the first year I think that I genuinely don't need to buy more strawberry plants because they've reproduced on their own. These are Ozark Beauty strawberries. So I was asked recently for our Q&A video what motivates me to continue doing what we do here and what motivates me to continue creating content on YouTube. And if you didn't watch that video, my answer was you guys. You guys reliably showing up here on the channel to see the garden or the goats or whatever we've got going on here. It really is motivating to me. I really didn't want to step outside. It's very soggy. It's gross. I just wanted to stay inside and curl up and do nothing, but I knew that I needed to post a video soon, and I knew that I needed to do a few things in the garden. So I'm really happy that I came out, and in a few months, I'm going to be very happy that we moved over those strawberries and that we planted those parsnips. So thank you so much for joining me in the garden today. I'll see you guys again soon.